Welcome to the $1 Million Multi-Op Podcast. Here, you're going to find education, entertainment, and a little inspiration on how to get to the next level. Are you a DJ company owner that's looking for the secret sauce? Congrats, you found it.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the $1 Million Multi-Op Podcast. I'm your host, David Osborne with BlueprintLearn.com. And on today's podcast, we have my good friend from the other side of the country, Beau Kramer. Welcome, Beau.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is like our California season. Got some West Coast love happening these days on the podcast. And we've known each other a few years. Before we pressed record, I was talking about that Beau and I share a lot in common as business owners. And I think it's really exciting to bring you on the podcast today to chat and kind of talk and kind of get into some stuff. It is like 80 degrees here. How is it in San Luis Obispo today?
I mean, man, it doesn't matter what time of year. It's always between like 70 and 80 degrees here. It's like awesome weather. Maybe we get like 1 week higher, 1 week lower or something, but it's always nice. So yeah, today is a nice day, 70 degrees, probably don't need the air conditioning. Pretty stoked.
Do you get just used to that, or do you really find the ability to have gratitude for that?
Oh man, I we're excited about it, but my kids want to go see the snow. So we drive to Tahoe, get some of that and come back down, but no one's shoveling driveways here, which is kind of cool.
Man, I like that. We have about a week and a half of spring, and that's your weather. And then it goes straight into 95 degrees and then until like October. So, I'm excited for you that you get to live that lifestyle, but I just want to talk about real quick. When I remember the first time we ever really talked was 2021. You and I were on a bus.
I remember that.
And I'm sitting in a seat. I don't think I had a seat partner. And then I don't think you did either. Maybe you did. It doesn't matter. But we're across the aisle from each other. And I had talked in some capacity about DJ Event Planner in that day. And you were like, hey, let's talk DJ Event Planner. And I don't think I ever met someone up until that moment who could talk so fluently about EP the way that I do. And I think we nerded out about it for hours while we were stuck in traffic in a bus. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, totally. And then I remember I was like, dude, David, this would be so cool if we made this video training thing, like where I'm going to film my guys doing something. And you're like, yeah, I kind of already have that going. Right.
Yeah, I remember I had a prototype on my phone. There was like nothing
I remember that.
yet. It was just an empty website with just like, hey, just in case I have to talk about this thing, I have some fake, it's just a website with really nothing there. But that was kind of like the first time we talked. It was summer 2021. And ever since then, every time we've interacted at conferences or through the Mentor Pods ecosystem or just on phone calls, every single time I feel like I get not just like educational value, but like relational value every time I talk to you. I think you're just a great value add as a human to our industry. So thank you
thank you very much, David. I feel very similar about you, man.
Let's go. Well, let's kind of dive in. Kramer Events, it started as a DJ company. So kind of take us through the bullet points. When did you start? When did you become a multi-op? And kind of give us a synopsis of where you are today.
Yeah, quick backstory. I started DJing in college and came out of college. I think I had an actual real job selling cell phones for 6 months and then just went full DJ. Actually, I kind of did both at the same time, but pretty much just did this straight out of college the whole time since, right? And that was 28 years ago. So, back then it was like you actually placed an ad in the yellow pages and the phone would ring and you'd answer it and talk to people and have appointments in your office. So it's super old school. Started with vinyl too, and then just evolved and said, let's hire some folks. Let's try some things out. I feel like I've made every mistake in the book. Added on photo booths, added on lighting design. I actually really enjoyed the lighting aspect of it, like transforming a room. I think we were a very early adopter to lighting, more so than photo booth. Tried adding on coordination. That had its challenges. Tried adding on photo and video. That had its challenges. Took our eye off the ball. And then COVID hit, and I think we experienced the same thing everybody else did, except the California version was closed for 2 years. So that was super fun. But learned a lot during COVID, reemerged, and started building the business we wanted and not the one we had. And we got a call from a local venue that didn't have an AV provider anymore because they packed up in COVID and went out of town. And so, can you do projectors and screens for us? And we're like, sure. And we were worried because we didn't want to like get in the same hole we were before, and we added on stuff and we weren't ready. And so we were really reluctant, but we felt good about it. We jumped in, and oh my God, that thing's been hitting hard ever since, like 4 years ago. And the stuff we're doing today with AV is incredible. Almost the DJ division just became secondary to the AV business as of this month. So it's an interesting
Whoa.
evolution to see that go that way.
And I've been watching it unfold online. I think if you want a daily dose of uh, inspiration, you should definitely be following Beau on Facebook at the least. Just great. I just love seeing all the photos you take at events and the team that you've got and what you guys are doing. The video wall is like a mile long. I've seen it online. It's amazing. Two things. Number one, when you started DJing in college, did you have a DJ name? I'm just curious. Has nothing to
No,
do
man, I
with
did. I mean, DJ Bo, pretty much. It's funny because people were asking, we were interviewing new DJs last week, and they're like, "What's everyone's DJ name?" And I was like, "Dude, we are not creative with that one. I am DJ Bo. We got DJ Chris going on in the other room. I mean, just everyone, just old school."
I think I got that from Jason Jani years and years and years and years and years ago. Like on some social media post years ago, was like, if you have a different DJ name than your real name, how's anyone ever supposed to actually find you when it's time to pay you money? And I was like, done, sold.
Yeah,
Also, I have a few.
but he's got a cool name too. I mean, Janai.
That's true.
It's
That's
already
true.
it's already got the cool points.
I affectionately call myself DJ Daddy Melt, only from a funny story because we were eating at an Irish pub one time, and a friend of mine said he was trying to order a patty melt, and he thought it said Daddy Melt because it was in that weird Irish scripty font. And I thought, oh, that's a great DJ name, but I don't actually use it for anything. Funny side story. No real. Okay. Anyways, second second thing is I noticed when you were talking about your story, you used the term "we" kind of a lot. I said, we did this, we did that. Who are we talking about? Who's the we?
Oh God, my team. It's funny. I feel like we brought in a new team member recently, and he would always go to me and ask me, what am I supposed to do here and here? I was like, well, I don't know. Go ask this person. And then he's like, well, what am I supposed to do about this? I was like, I don't know. Go ask this other person. He's like, I'm coming to realize like you don't really do anything here, Beau. I was like, bingo.
But I think but that's like the best sign of a healthy company ever. Like,
Yeah,
ever.
it's funny. I would kind of agree with that. And we've been through quite a journey to get here, but it really is a we. It's not even like a pronoun I'm trying to use just to be cool and sound like a leader. Like the team, we have a saying, recent saying we've come up with here is we collect unicorns, because the people that come on the team are just phenomenal people, and very complementary skill sets. And it really is a we. I mean, I've got, after this year, I probably won't have direct management of the front line anymore, but I've got fantastic leaders that help coach and inspire the front line, like our DJs and techs that are in the field, and they support them way better than I probably could. I'm more built to hone and help them, the leadership team. So when it's we, it's like really is a we, and we got a deep team of people that care. And I'm really, I think more than like business success or money success, the biggest thing for me is putting together a rock solid team that people like coming to work and enjoy getting to work with each other, and we do cool work. Like we get it done. So I mean, for us, it's never been more a we than this point in time for us.
And kind of like I said, I've watched that evolve as well. I've watched you go from Beau, who's got great people, some struggles, some things. Obviously you've got some people that have been with you for a while, but I've really started to see things starting to click for you guys over the past, I'd say, really noticeable 12 to 24 months. Like I really saw over the past probably 2 years in some capacity, really that like the scaling of the joy. It's not just like,
Yeah.
wow, we're doing bigger events, we're doing more events. Cool. Lots of people do that, but I'm seeing more ownership from other people. I'm seeing more. We were on a Zoom call just not that long ago in the past month where I was talking to your team, and there was like what 4 or 5 people on the call, and everyone, they were taking notes, they were interested, they were really trying to consume what we were talking about. I mean, that right there is what you just said. That's your team of unicorns right there.
Oh yeah, and, I mean, we had it was a great conversation. You know what I mean? Like you had a great mentor and you helping us through some cool stuff. So I had to pack the house for that one.
I mean, yeah, I thought it was cool that you were all there. So okay, if you've been a longtime listener of this podcast, you've heard me preach and talk a lot about core values, about mission, about all kinds of stuff. Beau, kind of talk to me about, well, you have a team that doesn't just come out of anywhere. Where did this start? Like, where was either the realization point where you're like, I got to change something because things aren't clicking, or where did you kind of develop that first checklist or roadmap where you're like, okay, let's get this culture and this team on the same page and fly in the right direction?
Yeah, man, multiple points. So I think at some point, I think, being in business, everyone's heard like, oh, you got to have core values, right? And so I read the book EOS and some other things, and heard that term thrown around. So I was like, okay, let's go get some core values, but it didn't really understand why. Or even when you're starting out as a single op and you're going into the multi op, you're like, well, why do I need these core values? What's the big deal? What's the purpose of it? It really doesn't serve a lot of purpose when you're solo, right? It's when you start expanding you start making some mistakes, you realize that you probably should have had it from the start. So but I don't know, for me, I learned best through pain, apparently. So I have to fall a bunch of times, and the real version is we would hire people that clearly, if I look at my core values now, should never have worked on paper, but we thought that they looked good on paper with their resumes, and brought them in. And then, we made mistake after mistake, and add to that, most of us don't come in with management experience. We start off DJing and then we get so good. We get more calls we can handle. We hire more people, but I had no management experience. I had to learn, but anyway, what I realized, especially today, the core values are everything in a sense. Like as you grow, you start wondering, how do you stop micromanaging people? Right. Cause I was an expert micromanager and one of the best. And I probably still am to some degree today, but I started releasing that a little bit because me as the owner of an organization, I need to think, well, what kind of decisions should my team make when I'm not in the room? Like it's easy to make, or it's not easy, but you can make systems and processes that help coach people through like how to do this task, right? But then when something changes and you run into a new question or problem, or how do you handle this client, or how do you deal with this thing we haven't trained on yet, man, it really goes back to the core values. And that's how you enable people to make great decisions that are in line with your own value set when you're not in the room. And when you think about it, you can't release control of your organization to other people and empower them unless they know the framework, unless they know, like, here's what is important. When we have to choose between this and this, these are the values we're going to use to test that. And that's going to help us make all of our decisions. That's going to help us evaluate people, right? Who, and it almost always is like, God, that this person isn't working out well, or this person's doing phenomenal. And usually we can point to the core values to explain, why, because it's not just a task, it's who the person is and what they're adding to the team.
Beau, you just got to level up. Oh man, we're not even that far into this podcast getting a level up. Look at you, Beau Kramer.
Man, I'm just so passionate about this. And when I heard you talk about it, you did a speech on it. And I was like, we were already falling in love with each other with the videos and the DJ event planner and stuff. And I was like, man, now he's going core values. This is great. But
Yeah.
I think about the biggest sign of our success. When I say success, is like me enjoying to come to work, and the team, I feel like, enjoying their time here. It really comes down to core values and like making sure the whole team is built like that. You get one person in there that is off track on that, and it could derail a ton of people and really cause a lot of havoc. And I've experienced all that, so I know that firsthand. So I mean, my one advice, if you're planning on growing a team, it doesn't sound like it's important now, but like, figure out what you as the owner, really the core values are an extension of the owner's values, and it's what is important to you. What do you want to see in your team 5 years from now? What does that look like? It's helpful to write those down because, even with Chat GPT, you could throw those in there and then say, here's my core values. Write me some interview questions. Write me some evaluation guidelines of team, next for their reviews. Write me. You can even infuse that in your copy on your website. Like you put that everywhere.
This is like 110% yes. Can you tell us your core values?
My core values? Yeah. Oh, it's funny. We recently changed one of them, which is kind of interesting. But team player, which is help grow and inspire those around you, and look to be even to create an extension of your team at each event, right? So help empower them, like your fellow vendors. Humbly confident, right? And in the DJ world, sometimes the bridge between confidence and cockiness, that ego meter, needs to be checked. And that's sort of our vibe, is like we get really good at what we do and we're super chill about it. Then we're authentic. We're respectfully straight up. We say it like it is, but we try to be nice about it. And we tell people where that hits the road is, when if you have a problem with one of our team members, we expect you to go straight up to that team member and talk to them about it in a way where they feel like you're not cornering them. You can, chat, have a conversation about it, figure things out. And then when someone comes to you, you have an aura where they feel safe coming to you and talking to you, right? Because if they have to come to me in order to, break a tie or, deal with an issue, as a starting point, then they don't, they start lacking trust in each other. They can't communicate well, and we start having gossip, which is a problem, right? So authentic, always improving, which is used to be never satisfied, but one of my team members wanted to improve it, which is kind of cool. And so that one's always improving. And then the last one's focused on impact, which is like really take responsibility. Don't throw anyone else under the bus. Get the job done, because every event is someone's Super Bowl.
Ooh, yeah. It's their Super Bowl. That's huge. We have 3. We have serve others, share joy, and take action. And for us, serve others is really about, what I think most people think of is doing things for other people, but it really comes from the place of being a guide or an expert who can help lead other people. I think that's really where the servant leadership one comes from. And then shared joy is just to always kind of give off the best energy and vibe you can, always be a positive force, always be smiling, and take action. And when I was settling on that phrase, take action, it went through some different iterations, but take action for us at least means to never give up. Like it's the never say die. It's the, when you're DJing a party and it's tough and you're losing the dance floor, which does happen. What are you going to do? Are you going to reach in your pocket and pull out, another 30 minutes of effort and keep plugging in there? Or are you going to, we're going to keep taking risks, try to innovate, try and do new things, try to raise the bar. So, I think you could probably take all the sub points to all of our core values, Beau, and I bet they'd probably all
line a bunch of them
in there.
But what I really like about yours is you got 3 of them. 3 is way better than 5. And so we revisit each year. We have a annual meeting where we go over some stuff. We always bring up the core values, and that's where it got amended last year from never satisfied, because it's kind of a negative tone, to always improving. And man, I'd love to get to 3 and keep the same sort of vibe or what we're trying to project in those. Because as you're coming up with your core values for the listeners, like less is definitely more. If your team can recite them all, then you're in a really good spot. Mine, I don't know, 50-50. Once you get past like 3 or 4, it's hard for everyone to remember and be able to spit them off, the top of their head.
One that would be like a runner up for us, if we had 4, would be crave excellence. But I still feel like it kind of fits underneath take action, because you're trying to always improve and you're always trying to be your best, which is very similar. So same thing with serving people, like you're trying to be the best you can and you're joyfully doing it. So I'm like, well, it's kind of covered in the other areas, but like if we had 4, I think that'd probably be our 4th one.
And I think part of the value, because you're explaining it, which is cool. Like part of the values of the core value is explaining it, that every new hire, that every, yearly evaluation, like reaffirms, like, this is what it means. It's one thing to see it. It's one thing to have it on a wall, but like even to explain it, as the owner, right, to all the people that come on your team, it is a step you cannot skip. And you got to watch their facial reactions too. Like if you're in an interview process and you're starting to say all these things and someone goes like, then that should be an indicator to you, like take notice of that.
I don't know if you know this, listeners, maybe you don't know this. If you're working in ChatGPT with core values or anything else that requires using it over and over again to create new things, you should ask ChatGPT to store it to its memory as a profile or as your core values. Then you can reference it in so many other situations. So like in a new chat or a new prompt, you can say, hey, you know my core values, right? Now write me some stuff. And it can be like, oh yeah, I know them, because otherwise you may have to re-enter them every time. It's got a little memory. As long as you don't delete those old chats, they'll stay in there. Okay, so often alongside of core values, we have a mission, right? And mission, I think, is tougher. Mission is tougher because people define it different ways. But I know you as a man. Like, I know that you are into other things besides DJing and production, and how you show up with your family and the things that you do and what you've done to your house. And like, I see and know these things about you. Kind of talk about your personal mission of how you want to show up to other people, and what you want to do with your impact.
Yeah, I think it's evolved for sure, and at first, I want start out wanting to be good at this DJ thing, and then and even recently, like throw great events, and be known for throwing great events. And I think the journey for me now, the phase I'm in, is like I just want to see other people shine, right? And I want to see I want to see growth. I want to see people challenged. I want to see. I feel like you think there's politics stuff going on a global, national level, and it's like what part can we all play in the world? And for me, after I place my vote, for politicians and everything, like that's my contribution there. But locally, I can make an impact. Like I have a team that works here, and I feel like, what if people could just, I'm a big Simon Sinek fan, and what if people could just drive into the parking lot, walk towards a building, and get excited to get to go to work and get to enjoy what they do, get paid well, but like get to work in an environment they feel like they're appreciated, and that they can be their best, right? And they can collaborate, they can have fun, right? Like that's so much of life. Because if they start at 9, and go to 5, and go home, like we have so much influence on those people's lives. When you're growing a multi-op, stage 1 for me was like, oh, let's grow this business for me and what we can do. But man, think about all those people that will have a different life if you lead them well. And if you help them, if you help coach them, you watch them grow and get excited about the things they're capable of and are able to do. And you put them together, and they're having a blast together, and they get to go. It's like going and playing. It's like grown up play. And I feel like I've done so much wrong in terms of business in the last 20 some odd years, but in the last couple of years, specifically this year, I've never enjoyed going to work more. You have this thought of like, what is retirement? Like I used to think, oh, I want to retire when I'm 30, or then got pushed to 40, and that philosophy of like, hey, you can hang your hat, get the gold watch at whatever age, and then go and sip mimosas in Hawaii, and that was like retirement when I was a kid, what I was thinking about. But in reality, now, like I just enjoy coming to work with these people. They're fantastic people that I would call family, and we get to have fun. We play with these nice, fun toys, right? LED walls and all kinds of stuff, get really creative, and we just have a blast, man. And I the whole retirement thing is totally out of my brain now. And it's like, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and this is really cool. And I think, we as leaders, or aspiring leaders who are growing these companies, we actually have the ability to change people's lives. And it's not just the people at our events, it's the people that come to work alongside us on our team. They can really have a different life. You want to change the world, start, hiring people and help them have a great life too.
Yes, sir. It's create a life you don't need a vacation from.
Exactly.
Now, also take a vacation.
Also take a vacation, see cool stuff, right? Get inspired,
Yes.
do the
But
thing.
you don't need one because you're trying to escape your life. Create the life you don't need a vacation from. And I think that is that's success in its own. I think, just the fact that we tend to, and again, the name of this podcast is relevant towards revenue. But again, if you're a longtime listener, you've heard me say so many times, it's not always about money, right? There's other markers of success, like being able to pick your kids up from school, or being able to, sleep until 10, or like whatever your thing might be that you consider to be freedom or flexibility or fulfillment. That is equally important in so many ways to grow. Your growth as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, is to say, like, what other things are there that, like, what other things can I juice out of life that isn't just cash money? And that's what you're talking about. You're like, money's good. It's the fuel for the plane. It's the fuel for my retirement. It's the fuel for the things. It makes things happen easier. But like enjoying the work and getting to, actually look at the people on my team and be like, wow, we're actually having a good time together. We're growing, and it's like a little business fam. I mean, that's special. A lot of people don't have that.
That's cool. And I don't think I appreciated how much I wanted or needed that until recently. And now I will never let go of that, man. It's really cool.
That is super cool. And do you think that, it's the way that you get somewhere isn't always the way that you intended on getting there? Like maybe in your mind, like you said, your mind was like, well, you started out growing a multi-op to grow a business, and you're like, me, yay.
Yeah.
And then
Me
it
centered. I want to make
became,
money. That was
yeah,
the drive.
it became something else. So sometimes, whatever the motivation was at first, it clearly got you to a really cool spot. When you're looking at, I call them leadership level employees. So, I think you and I both are aligned that we want everyone on our team to be a servant leader or have leadership qualities in some capacity, but there are actual, paid leaders on your team, people who are on a leadership team who actually are mentoring the next generation. When you are looking and to bring on more people in that capacity, are you looking for different things than you are for photo booth tech, someone who's on your team? Or is it more like, we're looking for the same things in everybody, and then people kind of get tracked different directions?
That's a good question. I think, and it's interesting. A lot of all of our leadership team here, none of them answered a job ad. They were all like, it's funny. You had some questions before we started, like, how do we, what part does community service relations, factor into the business? And I was like, man, from where it enters in is in hiring people more than anything. It's like getting connected to the community. All of our leaders, like I've known. I mean, Chris came on board our team a month or two ago, and I've known him for 20 years. We've known Taylor, who's our rock star salesperson, for I don't know, a year or two before we even talked to her about coming on board our team, just from knowing her in the industry. And then Tristan, I think I met him 15, 20 years ago, and he was like first like DJing before. So it's like everybody I know is like a long-standing relationship with him that became a leadership with us. It's hard for me to fairly answer that question, but if I'm looking to bring on more people, the leader is going to come over to our house for dinner. We're going to hang out. We're going to get a lot of FaceTime and like really understand like where's this person's value system. And there's a lot less of a space to take a chance, because it's so impactful. You get that decision wrong, and that's a big one. You know what I mean? Because if you put them in front of your team and they're leading a different way than you intended, that's going to cost you a lot. It has cost me a lot. I've made that bad decision, so extreme vetting of any leaders is huge. I mean, the best is if you can get them on your team and see them for a while. You just need to see them and see how they handle problems and actions, and what's their style, and how empathetic are they? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I look for those exact same things in the front line, because you need more of those people in the front line. So you're kind of looking for different skill sets there anyway. You're wanting the value system to be there, but you just can't. The ROI is so much more necessary, or the time is so much more necessary on the leadership, because you have to get that right, because they are representing your leadership, and you're going to be accountable for their actions. So I hold that to a way different standard than I would the front line, because the front line, you can try it out and you can see, we all go through our vetting, as a multi-op, you might hire someone as an assistant, see what they're like, and, oh, they're great, or, oh, maybe they're not so good, but you can vet them. You have this path where you can see whether they're going to put the effort in, the work in, and then you match their effort and you see them climb or don't climb, and
Vetting
you
is
just can't
everything.
afford that runway on a leadership level. It's just too costly.
Vetting is, for us, has always been everything. And I know that's something, again, that I know that we're aligned on, and we do it in different ways. We vet heavily through our secondary brand, letting people work as DJs. Now they have already passed our core value test. They've already been interviewed. They've already been stringently tested. Our training program is so stout that just to make it through it, you've got something special. But then, once you're working, there's still some, some give and take. Some people gravitate more with like, you can see it. You can see when we do team events. Okay, that person right there, that person's a born leader. We are going to keep that a different eye on that person, or pour into that person a little differently because we see that potential. And other people are great entertainers. They embody our core values well, but like we can kind of see it coming. And then when they're ready or when they express interest, I think we like to kind of, bring it in. And I think I wonder if you feel the same way about this, because Tristan was in Mentor Pods, right?
Yeah.
Was Tristan the only Kramer Events employee other than yourself that's done Mentor Pods?
No, Taylor, actually, I would say Taylor does it a little more often than even me at this point. In fact, I think they laugh. They call me the guest, and Taylor is like the main person. And then Tristan will hop on, but we keep him very busy in the field. So sometimes it's hard for him to get in here. But then Chris is also on there sometimes too. So they all they pick their ones they want to go to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the point for the listeners is when you feel like, if you're hearing what we're talking about and you say, okay, I want something like that in my company. I want this ability to turn to the left and turn to the right and have servant leaders that are aligned with my brand and my core values, that we grow together and we want this thing. You have to be willing to pay money to develop your leaders in places where things could go sideways, like that you're paying for spots and you're paying for education and opportunities for people on your team that for a lot of people could be scary. They're like, oh, I don't want people learning more than me or getting the opportunity more than me or being highly sought after more than me. Like you have to, I think it comes from inside. You have to be, like you were saying, you have to want to be in the season of your business ownership to say, no, I'm going to let you shine. I'm going to let you grow. I'm going to give you the opportunities and I'm going to pay for and support you because I see that, like it was so good for me. I want to give that to you.
Yeah. And I think working that through in the interview process and the vetting, like really finding that you have a good match. Like this person wants what we have here. They can excel. They can hit the runway. They want these things. Right. And they're, in our case, always improving. If you're not into education, you're not going to like working here because like that's a high priority for us. And we almost cram it down your throat. But the people here love it. Right. So it works for that. And if you're thinking along the same lines, like I might be hiring someone, like really spend some energy. I mean, working with people who have done it, who have hired people and learn from them. But, vet the heck out of the leaders that come in. But once they're in and they've said they want to be on your team and they want to go the distance with you, like it's time to invest in them at that point. I know it could be scary, but maybe that scariness is coming from you're not sure if they were meant to be on the team in the first place. If you get that right, or at least, as best you can, then it's time to invest in them and put your money where your mouth is and help them get there.
Beau Kramer, this has been a standout episode. Chat with you about all kinds of stuff.
This is cool, man. I feel like we could talk all day. This is fun.
We could talk all day. People might be like, hey, bring Beau in for part 2 and 3. So this has been incredible. Core values, mission, really getting into the nitty gritty of developing leaders. And I love your term. Collecting unicorns. That's so like it just cuts right to the heart of exactly what you're trying to do. Tell everybody how they can find you online.
Yeah, it's fun. I've heard some of your other podcasts and everyone's talking about their Instagram handles. I don't ever check Instagram. My team does that very well. I'm still on Facebook. So you can reach out to me via Facebook, Beau Kramer, or my email, Beau, BEAU @Kramer Events with a K.com.
Heck yeah. As always, there's free resources at blueprintlearn.com/resources. And we'll see you on the next one.